I healed my wounds as well as I could, though my body still ached from the ordeal. Only then did I leave the grove, the wings of the entrance closing after me, the carved feathers weaving together into a tight embrace. Wenji was pacing outside, alone, the tautness in his expression gazing at the sight of me. "Has Liwei not returned?" I asked. As Wenji shook his head, light flared from my pouch, a sudden heat scorching me. The enchantment around the feather was weakening. I thrust my hand into my pouch, my thumb brushing the scalding surface of the sphere, my energy flowing to seal the fractures. Despite the warmth which permeated this place, a shiver ran through my flesh. I sank onto the ground, almost trembling from exhaustion. Wenji shrugged off his outer robe, draping it over my shoulders. My eyes darted up to meet his, my face flushing against my will. I looked away, at his robe instead, a dark gray silk embroidered with clouds. A memory drifted into my mind of the last time he had done this, on the rooftop of the Jade Palace when we pledged ourselves to each other, before his treachery tore us apart. Never again, I swore to myself, discarding his robe. We were allies now, friends, perhaps, but no matter these uncertain murmurings of my heart, I would never allow myself to be his pawn again. Trust, once broken, was impossible to restore, the cracks remaining even when glazed anew. Wenji's eyes were a forbidding gray. "Did Lady Shihe hurt you?" As another wave of heat slipped free from the orb, I winced. "No, it's the feather. It burns." "Let me help." As I dug it from my pouch, he plucked the sphere from my grasp. A relief to yield it to another, even as I resisted the urge to snatch it back. The sight of the feather in Wenji's hand reminded me uncomfortably of the pearls he had once taken. The feather seethed with fire, its barbs quivering like they were alive. As Wenji lifted it up to examine it, a streak of flame surged from within, piercing the barrier to strike his shoulder. He did not flinch, his grip tightening around the sphere, light flowing from his fingers to wrap the orb in frost. My eyes followed the feather in his hand as he sat down beside me. Before I could demand its return, he held it out to me. The orb was cool to my touch as I slipped it back into my pouch, knotting the cords. "Thank you," I said stiffly, "for shielding me earlier for this. It was the least I could do when you bore the brunt of facing Lady Shihe." His voice dropped dangerously low. "What did she do to you?" I did not reply, glancing at his wound from the feather, the skin a mottled red. "Does it hurt?" A small smile played across his lips. "Are you concerned for me?" I shrugged, feigning indifference. "No, it would be an inconvenience if you died." "An inconvenience," he repeated slowly. Such unfeeling words. I would not be baited into a reply, turning to stare at the grove. An unearthly radiance emanated from the trees, the mulberries blazing like they were afire. Their light rippled through the night, brushing the sky with crimson and rose. Soon Lady Shihe and her daughter would be mounting their chariot. Wenji leaned back against a tree, his eyelids drooping shut. He barely showed signs of discomfort. Had the feather's power caused some internal injury? The marks across his shoulder were as glossy as melted wax. I frowned, unable to stop myself from reaching out to inspect him. As I halted, wary of causing discomfort, Wenji's palm swept up, pressing my hand to his chest. Heat flared across my neck as I snatched my hand away. His gaze searched mine. "What are you afraid of?" he asked. "Not you." I lifted my head higher. "Liwei will be back soon. He will heal your wound. I would rather suffer your inept ministrations than those of the most accomplished healer in the realm." "I did not offer to tend to you," I told him tightly. "Nor will the Celestial Prince, for that matter. He would be glad to prolong my suffering, no doubt, as it would give me great satisfaction to do for him." A wry smile spread across his lips. "Liwei would not do that." "Of course not." An edge slipped to his tone. "He is the perfect one, the noble one, the one who would never hurt you." My silence was a reproach. Wenji knew how hurt I had been when Liwei betrothed himself to another. a different kind of pain from his own calculated betrayal. That was thoughtless of me. He inclined his head as he rested an arm upon his knee. I used to believe we would spend the rest of our lives together, when you were mine as I am yours. These days I barely have a moment alone with you. The way we are now, it is far more than I ever thought we would be again, I told him. Yes, to hear you say my name without hate or weariness is a desire that has haunted me for the past year. Some days I thought you would despise me forever, as I deserved. A drawn breath slid from him. I should be grateful, but I can't help but wanting more. Never, the barest crack in my voice. You destroyed what we had. By right I should hate you forever. Hate me then, for I would rather have your hatred than indifference. His eyes were the shade of wintry rivers, glints of light traveling in their depths. The past can't be undone, but my hope lies in our future. Trust me with your heart again, and you will find the truth in mine. For you are the reason I rise each day, for you I live and breathe. His declaration, spoken with such unflinching passion, struck all thought from my mind, an unexpected warmth flaring through me. I swallowed hard, fighting to conceal how shaken I was, hiding behind a mask of indifference. Words are easily spoken. His gaze pinned mine, then let me express them through deeds. My pulse was racing, my breath shallow. I did not know what emotions churned within me, nor did I want to examine them too carefully. He leaned forward, drawing closer, slowly, like I might startle. I should have moved, yet I did not. His breath grazed my lips, his scent filling my senses with pine, with the night breeze, with too many things I wanted to forget. Could he hear the thud of my heart, the evidence of desire I tried so hard to suppress? My eyelids lowered, a tantalizing warmth coursing through my blood, but then he stopped, raising his hand to cradle my cheek. Do you want this? His low voice curled at the edges of my hearing. I should have moved away, stumbled to my feet and fled, yet my head tilted toward him instead, as though tugged by an invisible thread. Something shifted in his expression, darkening with desire. His throat worked. A moment before his hand slid down the curve of my neck. His touch was firm yet tender, drawing me to him with a restrained passion that broke the last of my defenses. His mouth pressed against mine, seeking and fierce. My lips parted as he deepened the kiss, clasping me to him with a hunger that stole my breath. As his arms tightened around my waist like a brand of iron, I arched closer, the press of his body firm and cool. Heat jolted down my spine, light flashing before me like stars of fire. Perhaps the spark had been there all along, muted, not extinguished. Perhaps it was my longing to feel something other than fear or despair, even if it was these confounding emotions he roused in me, or it might have been his heartfelt words, the hurt I sensed deep within him. Excuses, lies to shroud myself from the shameful truth that a part of me wanted him still, even after all he had done. A weakness that I wished I could undo. Almost shaking from the effort, I pushed against Wenji. He released me at once, breaking the embrace, his grave expression devoid of the triumph I expected. I had wondered all this time if it was him alone in your heart, how I longed to know if I was there too. A fierce light shone in his eyes. You still feel something for me, even though you're too stubborn to admit it. Or are you afraid to? Desire is not love. I was eager to dismiss what had passed between us, to cheapen it and cast it from my mind. Why was it that I advanced readily into battle, yet remained a coward in such matters? It is not, he agreed, but you, Xinyan, would not desire someone you care nothing for. My blood simmered at the assurance in his tone, yet I could not find the words to deny it. As his gaze flicked behind me, I swung around to find Li Wei standing there, as still as stone, staring at me as though I were a stranger.